Hello everyone, welcome back. I wanted to give you guys my first impressions on the Glock 44. Okay, the Glock 44 is the 22 long rifle version that Glock put out about a year ago, and I got a chance to shoot it for the first time today. Situation is that, because of the whole coronavirus epidemic slash panic, a lady bought, her first gun, didn't know anything about gun safety or shooting a gun, and basically called me up and said, listen, I need you to come over my property and train me on how to use the gun. So I went over there, and I went through all the stuff that I normally do, but I got a chance to shoot the gun myself, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. The Glock 44 is pretty much the same size as a Glock 19. Now this is 17 that I'm holding here, but when you hold it in your hand, it's going to feel exactly the same. The trigger is going to fall in exactly the same position. And more importantly, the trigger pull and the trigger reset is going to feel exactly the same. So even though this is a 22 long rifle, it had that same take up on the trigger, all right? It had that same, break, it would feel the same way. And then when the gun would reset, it would have that same exact reset. And the thing that I thought was pretty cool is when I shoot my Glocks, I have to make a conscious effort if I'm shooting right-handed to apply a little bit of pressure, inwards, right? So I need to pull the gun a little bit to the right so the shots don't go left. So that's just that's how I have to shoot the Glock. That's how most people have to shoot their Glocks. So I have to make a little bit of a conscious effort to apply, to pull the trigger a little bit to the right as I press the trigger. If I'm shooting left-handed, I have to do the opposite. I have to make sure that I apply a little bit of trigger squeeze towards the left in order to keep the gun, keep the sights on target and keep the gun centered. So I really like that feature transferred over to the Glock 44. This way, when people train on their Glock 44s and 22 long rifle, they're able to hold the gun and squeeze the trigger exactly the same way that they're going to need to do it on their Glock 19, 17, and all their other Glocks. So the gun shot really well. The one thing I noticed is that the gun did not like the hollow points very much. We shot the Aquilas. They shot very well. She had two magazines. The Aquilas shot well. We shot the Blazers, which are basically lead round noses. They shot well. When I put these Remington golden bucket bullets, these have a very pronounced hollow point, and on one of the magazines, it wasn't doing it on both of them, but on one of the magazines, it was basically catching on its way out of the magazine. If you had the magazine full, if I only had like 6 rounds in there, it was working fine. But if I had all 10 of these, Remington golden bucket ones, I saw that the corner of the hollow point was catching on the way out. And it might just be that one magazine because the other magazine was working fine. I have seen this happen before with 22 hollow points, so I generally try to avoid them if I can. The problem that the woman had is that the gun store basically sold her the wrong guns in terms of size. This was a very small woman, a petite woman with small hands, and the Glock was basically a little bit too big for her hands because with the Glock, when you hold it, like I said earlier, most people need to apply a little bit of pressure. If you're holding it right-handed, you gotta apply a little bit of pressure to pull the trigger towards the right to keep it centered. Because of the grip, she wasn't able to get enough of her finger in there. So when she was holding the gun, right, she had her, the thumb knuckle on the side over here. Her finger was like almost on the tip over there. So when she was squeezing the trigger, she was pushing the gun to the left, and all her shots were going to the left. When I had her shoot this Ruger SR22, okay, which has a smaller grip, she was able to put a little bit more finger on the trigger and shoot straight. I had her shooting at about 8 yards. She was shooting steel plates that I brought with me. So she was shooting 4-inch steel plates. When she was shooting the Glock 44, I think she was getting like maybe 2 out of 10. Okay, when I had her switch over to the Ruger SR22, all of a sudden she was getting 8 out of 10. Okay, so there was a vast improvement just by switching over to a smaller gun. And the reason was obvious because she could get more finger on the trigger and control the gun better. So the gun store definitely missized her. And I told her that I wish she had come to me first because I would have had to try out a whole bunch of different guns and would have been able to recommend the right gun for her. So I told her to, I told her it's a good gun. I told her to work with it, for a couple of weeks, see if she's able to get more comfortable with it. And if she's not able to get comfortable with it, what I told her to do is, okay, listen, go find out what the gun store will give you in terms of a buyback. And then I told her to come back to me, and I would give her a little bit more, and then we'd go to a gun store, and we would do the transfer, and basically she would sell the gun to me through a gun store, because I kind of like the gun. And then what I would recommend for her at that point is to get something a little bit smaller like this Ruger SR22. But now, you might say, well, why would you even have her shooting a 22 if she's buying the gun for home defense? Because this is her first gun, and she's a very small woman, and I don't think she's ready to shoot anything bigger at this point. So I'd rather have her shoot something that she's comfortable with, that she's going to get good with, and 22 is the right place for her to start with. And then down the road we can I told her we'll try and get her into something a little bit bigger, like a 9mm. But I'd rather have her shoot something that she's comfortable with and she can actually hit the targets. The only bad thing is that the gun was a little bit too big for her hands. The Glock 44 does come with a number of back straps, that you can add on, so you can make the gun bigger, right? So if you got big gorilla hands, you can make the grips a little bit fatter. However, she didn't have anything on there, so in the lowest setting, basically, the gun was still too big for her. So, and I mean, you really get, because the gun fit my hands perfectly. So, without any of the extra back straps, extra fittings on it. So all those extra things that they include, I mean, there must be people out there that have like humongous hands, because I don't have small hands, but I mean, there must be people out there with really large hands, big bad paws. But anyway, those are my first impressions of the Glock 44. Obviously I don't have it here with me to show it to you because it's at the lady's house where I trained her. But I think it's a great gun, good training gun, really good for, if you're planning to use that, so that you can get better at shooting your regular, your Glock 19 or your 17 or your 22, whatever it is that you have. And I really like that the trigger feels exactly the same, because Glocks really do have a very unique trigger compared to other guns, where you got that take up, and then you got that you got that slack. You got like when I shoot it, I gotta make an effort. I got a conscious effort to pull the trigger a little bit towards the right, and then it's got that reset. So I really like that they got that perfect. It works perfect. I mean, you're able to train on the Glock 44 and 22 caliber, and then apply that to your Glock, to your Glock 19 and your Glock 17. So if you guys got any feedback, comments, please put them in the comment section. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.